this minimum wage, the $15 thing for fast food workers, the President Obama suggesting $10.10 an hour as a minimum wage. It would take 3 years to get there, but which is typically how minimum wage increases are done. From 69 to 71, we raised the minimum wage 28% over 3 years. This would be a 39% increase, by the way, that's being proposed by the administration right now. From 74 to 76, we raised the minimum wage 43.8%. From 78 to 81, we raised it 45%. And from 2007 to 2009, we raised it 40%. Each time, that was over 3 years, except for the 78 to 81. That was over a 4-year period. And throughout all of them, Walmart did really well, as did the economy. But Michael Saltzman begs to differ. He is the research director for the Employment Policies Institute, the website epionline.org. Michael wrote an op-ed that got posted in the Washington Post, in fact. Michael, welcome to the program.
Hey, it's good to be here, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. First of all, I read your report filled with incredible math and formulas and all, really fancy. I mean, it's. I realize that you guys are really Berman and Company, a PR firm, and it's clear that it's really well done. But I didn't see anything about history. I mean, we've been raising the minimum wage since it was created in 1935, and every time we raise the minimum wage, the economy does better. We've never, ever seen a documented job loss from this. Washington State, that has the highest minimum wage in the United States, also has the strongest economy in the United States. When I was living in Portland and we raised the minimum wage for restaurant workers, the restaurant industry was going, oh my God, it's going to be a disaster, going from $2 to $9 or $10. And no, actually, all the restaurants all did better over the following years. I don't get it.
Well, I think you don't get it because what you just described there is not consistent with what we've actually seen in the evidence. I mean, I could be happy to send you, a couple dozen anecdotes from newspapers if that's what you'd like, of business owners that actually have had to cut back. But I think the more important thing.
Well, no, wait a second. If you've got a business owner who has to cut back, you've got a business owner with a lousy business model.
Yeah, let's return to that in just a minute. But the more important thing is that economists actually have been studying this issue. Economists have been studying it since the late 1940s, but they've been studying it even more in the last 20 years. And what we've seen through labor market data from the federal government and empirical studies published in peer-reviewed journals is that when you raise the minimum wage, no, it doesn't crater the economy. And economists aren't saying it will crater the economy, but what it does is it does reduce employment and it reduces jobs for people at the bottom rungs of the career ladder. And particularly right now in an environment.
No, it doesn't.
It absolutely does. I mean, you can refuse to.
Please name 1 year. We've had a minimum wage since 1935. 1 year when we raised the minimum wage, and in the following year we saw employment fall.
We saw teen employment fall. Well, we've seen that in a number of instances. I mean,
1 year,
85%. I could point to any number of years that minimum wage increases.
Pick one.
Both between 2007 and 2009, 114,000 fewer teens had jobs.
Of course, because of the Great Bush Depression.
114,000, and that's in a study that controlled for the impact of the recession.
Oh, come on.
85% of the best studies over the last 20 years, 85%. Point to lost jobs following a minimum wage.
You mean 85% of the studies that have been paid for by business groups that are published on the internet?
That's not true. No, that's according to a survey of all those studies from economists at the Federal Reserve and the University of California, Irvine.
The Economic Policy Institute.
I understand it's better to sort of be rhetorical about it and claim that no jobs have been lost, but that's not what the evidence says. It's just it's plain not what it says.
You guys are the Economic Policy. Economic Employment Institute.
The Employment Policies
EPIonline.org. That's your organization.
And minimumwage.com too is you can find some of our stuff.
And which is operating out of the same offices as Rick Berman's PR firm, and who came out of the restaurant industry at Steak and Ale and used to be a PR flack for the tobacco industry, the alcohol industry. In fact, 60 Minutes did a piece on your boss calling him Dr. Evil. It's like This and I'm astounded that I wanted to point this out because I'm astounded that the Washington Post didn't.
Your argument is on the minimum wage.
The point that I wanted to make is that the actual EPI, the Real Economic Policy Institute, which has 20 employees, 20 staff, and 36 respected scholars, published a long and detailed study on the impact of raising the minimum wage.
Yeah, what academic journal? I'm sorry. What academic journal was that one published in? Because all the studies I just referenced for you were published in academic journals. Which one was the Economic Policy Institute published in?
I don't know.
Maybe the AFL-CIO published it in their newsletter. I mean, they might have done that.
So, again, you can't name a year other than the Bush crash year.
No, in 96 and 97 it happened too. It happened in the early 1990s when it went up under Bush. It happened during those ones during the Carter years. What we have seen consistently is every single time the minimum wage goes up, as employment for young adults has fallen, and it's very clear in the data.
If somebody's business model is that the only way that they can run their business is to pay people so poorly that those people can't live. And I know you're trying to turn this into the thing about teenagers, but the average age of an employee in the fast food industry right now is 29. It's not, the whole old entry job thing. That was back before Reaganomics. That was back when we had an actual economy.
Half of the people who are in the minimum wage are still between the age of 16 and 24. 1/4 are between 16 and 19. So there is still very much a large counterpart or part of this group that is young.
Right. And my point is that if your business model requires the exploitation of that kind of labor, you should not be doing business in the United States of America. This is the richest country in the world.
Well, we should simply lose their jobs if the minimum wage goes up to 10.10. I mean, that's cold comfort.
Nobody is using those kind of numbers. I mean, even the Congressional Budget Office said it could be a positive effect, it could be zero, or it could be as many as 500,000 people could lose their jobs.
As many as 1 million people. 500,000 is their central estimate.
And if that happens, and the economy is stronger as a consequence of it, and those marginal businesses, I mean, do you really think that McDonald's has fat in their labor force?
I think that this is ultimately...
they have fat in their CEO force.
I think this is ultimately an issue that comes back to the customer. And I hear a lot about CEO pay, and I'll tell you, we did the math on it, and if you took the pay of a McDonald's CEO and his bonuses, and you cut it to zero, and you divided it among all the employees, you could give everyone about a penny an hour raise.
Well, why do that? Why not take the CEO, all the senior executives, and all the dividends?
Because at the end of the day,
and if you did that, what would that?
Customer. It comes back to the customer.
No, it doesn't.
No, it absolutely.
It goes to the stockholder.
Because because if customers were willing to pay higher prices, there would never be a debate about the minimum wage. You could raise it to whatever you wanted. You could do what Barbara Lee wants to do and raise it to $26 an hour.
No, because what has happened is we've got this new business model, Michael.
They are unwilling.
We have a new business model where these companies are expecting you and me to subsidize them. They're paying just enough that their employees are eligible for food stamps and other welfare programs. And we are subsidizing Walmart workers. We are subsidizing minimum wage workers. And I would think as a conservative that you would find that outrageous.
Tom, I'll tell you what I find outrageous. The idea that we could be providing a 100% subsidy for a number of these workers if we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and the job they used to do...
That's no subsidy at all. Then they get off the government dole.
No, that's a 100% subsidy.
They're no longer eligible for any government programs.
And they don't have a job. The reason we have programs like the Earned Income Tax Credit, Bill Clinton, of all people, said we have programs like the Earned Income Tax Credit because it is more effectively than a higher minimum wage can raise people out of poverty. We do that to maintain the opportunities that they have.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll leave it at that. I'll leave you with the last word. Michael Saltzman, the website epionline.org. Research Director of the Employment Policies Institute. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Tom.
Good talking to you.